Hello everyone and welcome back to the railway. I know it's definitely been a while since I've done a model train video, and that's again mostly because I haven't really been collecting that much, and that's one because of the current situation, which I'm sure we're all aware of, and two, I've honestly been pretty happy with my locomotive and rolling stock collection, so I haven't really been going out of my way to find more and spend more money on them. What I have been going out of my way for though is actually improving my layout, as I've kind of just gotten this spark of inspiration to actually make it a proper model train layout. So yesterday I went out, I got 2 huge pieces of plywood, which should be more than sufficient in a cat, to basically serve as the base of this railway. Now, unfortunately, because I am applying these to this pre-existing table, it does mean I kind of need to deconstruct everything that you see. So all the track, all the scenery, I need to move it somewhere else, place it on the plywood, and then eventually move it back. So I decided I would take this opportunity to kind of talk about my layout, how it came to be, the history of it, what I use for it, and what my intentions are with it. So I suppose we should just get started with that. So before we remove the track, I'm going to remove all the major pieces of scenery, and I'll just talk about them one by one. Alright, so first on this corner of the layout, we kind of have a extremely small town of just 2 houses and some farmland, as you can see by the cows and the tractors. Quite fond of these cows, and I really like these tractors too. I don't know, I like smaller non-rail vehicles decorating the layout. I think they add a lot of character. So this house, it's definitely seen better days. I mean, it's pretty run down and honestly not that appealing. I'll probably replace it someday. I've definitely seen like this exact model in much better condition that I could definitely replace this out. But I kind of like it too. I kind of like how it's worn down, and you can kind of see that it's definitely been lived in, because I will say the damage to it is actually pretty realistic. I mean, if I were a good photographer, I could probably take a picture of this and someone would just assume, oh, that's just some run-down old house. But nope, it's just a model that probably hasn't been treated that well by the previous owner. So yeah, and this was one of the first pieces of scenery I ever bought for this layout, so I think it was like $5, and it came with a few other rundown things, which you'll see here in a bit. So I'll take this off, put it over here, keep it safe. Also here we have a much nicer looking house. Definitely like this one a bit more. I don't quite remember when I got this. I think it was at my local train store. They usually have some pretty cheap scenery in decent condition. And yeah, it's nothing too incredible. I mean, it's all hollow inside, but for what it is, it looks pretty nice. And it definitely looks better than that other house, so definitely going to keep this one for a while. I might put some detailing on it or whatever. So I'll just put that over with the other house, over in this corner where I'm just kind of collecting things. I suppose while we're here, we'll go over this. It's just a little shed. I think it probably came in the same kit or set that the previous house came in. It's pretty nice. You can fit a tractor in there, or a car or something, so it does its job. And you know, it doesn't actually look that bad, so I'll be keeping this. Yeah, you can see it definitely has like the exact same paint scheme as this house, so I'm assuming they came together. And I suppose while we're here, we'll take a look at these cows. Got these cows at a train store not too terribly long ago. I, need some animals to populate the layout, and I thought, what better than cows, you know? So I kind of got just a pack of them. They weren't that expensive. We'll just kind of grab those one-handedly. Should probably find a safer place to put these. For now, I'll just be putting smaller things on like this wooden board so I can keep track of them. I think that's a smart idea. Then we have a lone person. She was just kind of sitting on that house earlier, standing. So there's that. Then we have these tractors. Again, I really like these. Pretty detailed for what they are, I mean, not bad. I think they were like $7 too, for both of them. So I like those. Then we just have some trees, so nothing too special here. Just grab these and plop them over here, as I'll be doing with a lot of things. Alright, moving back, we have this building, which you can tell has definitely seen better days. It came with that house earlier. I've seen this model completed in shops, and apparently it has like a whole upper roof section. It's supposed to be a signal box, but it definitely doesn't look like that anymore. I don't know why it's still in the layout. I really don't have a purpose for it, but I might as well just keep it. I doubt anyone would ever want to buy it off me. It's pretty run down. Also in that lot, this is one of the better buildings in there. This is kind of a car repair station, I suppose. You can see it is missing some letters from the logo up there, and the door came off. You can tell I had to kind of shoddily glue this roof back on, but it actually looks pretty nice considering I bought it for $5 with a few other things. I mean, for $5 it's probably worth this alone, but I got a pretty good deal. So that's kind of this area of the layout cleaned out. So over here we have a station. I think it's just an old Bachmann model, and you can see the people have kind of fallen off. So let's just clear these people real quick. Clear these. Clear you. And I'll just take these, put them over here. The others. Yeah, this station, it's pretty small. It's definitely more of a branch line station. It says Pikesville Junction up there, so that's kind of interesting. They have this random ramp. I have no clue where this came from, but put it at the end of the station because I guess, I don't know why. Passengers have to get up some way, even though there are stairs. Guess it would be convenient for luggage. So there's some random world building for you. Next up, you have this flag. Shouldn't be on the ground. But yeah, I obviously can't drill into this table yet, so I just kind of shoddily glued it to this piece of clear plastic, and most of the time it stands up, though it definitely doesn't take much to knock it down. I like this flag, it's pretty detailed and it looks really realistic. So when I get the plywood, I'll definitely have to drill a proper hole for it. For now, we'll just put it back here. Alright. Then we have some signals here, which I recently got these not too long ago. And you know, they're meant to be wired up and actually light up, but for how inexpensive they were, I'm not sure if it's really worth doing that. See that there's wires down here, so I think I'll just keep them static and just have them as detail, and not keep them functioning here. Kind of needed to slide them out of the table. I mean, these things really weren't expensive at all. I mean, you can find them on Amazon for like $10 for 5, which is pretty good, and you'll be seeing more of them as I continue going around. So, here's a kit that I actually put together myself. It's a Walthers kit. Pretty basic one. I mean, I know it's not very expensive, and it looks pretty dull, all things considered. Definitely need to weather this up, but it's a water tower, does its job pretty well. And it holds together pretty well too, so I like it. I think I'm gonna cut so I can carefully move this better. Alright, so the layout is already looking pretty bare. This was kind of the most populated area, I suppose. Look here, you may notice, why is there just some random straight pieces? That's because I actually want a trolley line here, and I do technically have one. There's usually a controller that hooks up right here, and I can't operate the trolley back and forth. Of course, I haven't wired anything special up, so I do have to do it manually, and eventually I will actually put some model concrete or plastic to actually make it look like an accurate trolley line. But again, that's just something I've been waiting to apply the plywood to do, so I feel like that would just make it easier. So yeah, there. And of course I also need some electrical wires running overhead. Yeah, I suppose next we can get onto this strip mall, I suppose. This mostly is all one piece, except for this place is a comic store. This I kind of got, I would say I paid too much for this. It was like $30, and it came, you know, I bought it new at a train store, and I don't really know what I was thinking. I mean, it's completely hollow, and it doesn't even look too great, but oh well. I mean, I'll keep it. It looks nice, and you can see that I'm kind of already running out of space here, so I might start just putting things along this back wall. So here's the main strip mall part. Again, pretty worn down. I mean, it doesn't look that great, but bought this at my local hobby shop as well for a pretty good price, I remember. And you know, it's just kind of a reminder, there's no need to overpay on expensive kits or anything. I mean, you can find some pretty inexpensive stuff. Obviously it won't look the best or be the best, but this hobby is really only as expensive as you make it, and that's what I always keep in mind. Here's a silly item that I bought for fun. It's a crepe stand, or a food truck type thing. Pretty unique. It's all die-cast metal, which is interesting, but I don't know, it's just kind of silly. And it populates the kind of shopping area, I think. You know, crepes are actually just really good, so I think that's why I bought it. Must have been hungry. So that's kind of the main residential area cleared out, I suppose. And I kind of have two sides to the layout. Now, kind of where the people are, where they shop, where they go to the train station, where they live. And more of the railroad side, where the trains are, where you have the train yard, the quarry, mine, the tunnel. Starting off, we have this Walther signal box, which is actually pretty detailed. I like this. Simple, unique. Well, not unique, it's just simple, but has detail. I've been needing one, so I got that. Next up, I have two sheds here. These were $10 each at a train show, and they look pretty good, especially for that price. So $20 for two sheds. I've been looking for some when I bought them, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, they're not the best. I'm pretty sure they were kits, so because of that, they do kind of fall apart sometimes. I guess whoever put them together before me didn't do a stellar job, or they just wore down over time. Yeah, there's those. And once again, I am gonna cut here so we can move them more carefully. Alright, so we're down to the last couple of things here. First, we have more signals that I was just taking out. Again, when I actually get the plywood in, I'll definitely just drill in the hole and they'll sit more nicely. And then here's probably the most frustrating kit I put together. As you can tell, it's not even entirely complete. I kind of just did the quickest work I could on the handrails. This is a massive crane that runs on these little tracks down here, and it looks pretty good, especially from a distance. When you get up close, you can definitely see how they didn't do the best job on it, but it's still pretty fragile. And the handrails were definitely a pain because they just broke apart in my hand for the most part. I don't know how plastic could be made so cheaply. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely be careful when I'm moving this. Well, the layout has now been stripped down to its most basic form. It's now just purely track. And now I suppose it's time to start disassembling this too. So I suppose before I do this, I'll go briefly into what track I use. I use pretty much entirely Atlas Code 100 nickel silver snap track. It's probably one of the cheaper options, and it works pretty well. I mean, I rarely have problems with this stuff. And if you're getting into model railroading and need a good track, I definitely recommend this, especially if you can find it for cheap. Other than that, I do have some miscellaneous pieces, like this is an Atlas. I think this is an old Hornby piece from a set I got a while ago. I have some miscellaneous Pico track on here from a set, and I think one piece of lifelike track somewhere, but ultimately, as long as it meshes together, it works. Obviously it looks a lot nicer having a uniform brand and scale and all that. So I definitely recommend try to keep it consistent. It will just make your railroad operate better. But if you have some miscellaneous track like on the end of a siding, it's really not hurting anybody. So with that being said, it's time for me to disassemble this and then place down that plywood. Alright, so as you can see, I've cleared the layout completely. I've obviously laid the board, and off camera I've also painted it. So the entire plywood, the base level is painted brown. So this will be kind of the dirt layer. And I also have some grass here, well, some fake grass that I'll be putting on as soon as I lay the track, and some other crucial scenery, just to give me an idea of where the grass needs to go and where other terrains will go. So I'm going to lay back all the track that was just here, and I'll cut back when I've done that. Alright, so it's been a couple days since I recorded, and in that time I've been making a fair amount of progress. Suppose I'll show you what I've done. So as you can see, this first section is pretty much complete. I still need to do some work around the edges, but it looks pretty good so far, I'd say. I got the kind of farm over there, I got the shopping area, trolley line back. Yeah, I'd say it's looking pretty good. The grass was pretty easy to use. It is roughly glued down. I say roughly because you can still kind of move it, but that's because I might want to change things later on. And beyond that, I've also got all the track laid back. The actual design of the layout hasn't changed at all. It's identical to how it was, because My plan isn't really to change what I had, but rather expand the layout outward with new lines and new track. And speaking of which, you can see I definitely have a lot more space than the old tables gave me, which I'm really excited for. I have a lot of room to expand. I already have a few ideas, just what I want to do with this space. And with that, I'll definitely be keeping you guys updated. I think this would make for a really good video series of just my expansion project in general. And with that being said, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.